Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. My name is Brother Zerubbabel,
My name is Ezra Salazar.
and we are children of Israel. Welcome back to another Sabbath class. Blessed Sabbath to you. Um, you know, blessed 52nd Sabbath. This is the 52nd Sabbath of the year, the last Sabbath of the year. If you know, you know. If you don't know, according to the scriptures, there's 52 weeks in a year. All right. So this is the last Sabbath of the year. This coming week will be the new year, according to the Bible, not the Bible, but also the calendar that we follow. Um, again, want to not going to spend too much time on it, but um, the spring is coming up, the spring feast. This week, Monday, Tuesday going into Wednesday is the new year, beginning of the new year, the first day of the first month. And I could tell you that Esau knows that this is the true new year. And if you're paying attention, you would know it too. You know what I mean? Especially to our brothers that are still following the lunar calendars. I would highly suggest to go do some more research and you even watch our videos, because again, we've got 4 videos on here, each of them over 4 hours, dealing with the calendar. The first video is dealing with the day itself. Second video is dealing with the week. Third video is dealing with the month, and the fourth video is dealing with the year. Breaking down the day, breaking down the week, breaking down the month, and breaking down the year. Because a lot of our brothers, again, because of following the moon and adding this 13th month, this so-called second month of Adar, to their calendars, are basically having their new year in April and going to be celebrating Passover in April. Which even Esau knows is actually, let me show you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to just show you an event that's coming up. It's not really an event, but it's real telling when you see Esau do this, and our brothers are still following the moon. Let me present, share screen, and it's something simple. It's not real significant, but can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So as we're showing you, the new year begins this Tuesday evening at sundown and going into Wednesday, which makes Wednesday the first day of the first month, which is the new year. Esau knows this, because if this was not the first day of spring coming up on Monday at sundown, which is when we're having the spring feast, why would they be changing the time on the 9th already?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they know when the real spring is coming. They wouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? It's the first Sunday basically after the spring begins. They know it. They're just not going to share it with us. Sunday, March 9th, which is next week. The time will be changing. All right. And the only reason why they're changing it is because they know it's springtime already. And the hours of daylight is already changing. It's already started changing. me go to another one. Because another reason why we're trying to spread awareness about this is because um, let me see if you can see that. Yeah, there we go. Let's think about this. On January 29th, you may have started hearing it all on the news. It was, online. Lunar New Year, Lunar New Year. All these people were celebrating the so-called Lunar New Year, which essentially is the Chinese New Year, but they're trying to make it a global theme where, even in here in California, San Francisco, they were celebrating. Actually, it's right here. Celebrate Lunar New Year at the Ritz Carlton, San Francisco. So New York, they were celebrating, and of course, with the celebrating of the Lunar New Year and the lunar calendar period, there's a lot of idolatry involved in it, especially, as they call this the year of the snake, lunar year 2025, a guide to the year of the snake. Um, there's a lot of idolatry involved in it, a lot. Okay. We'll go to Wikipedia and read a little bit because what we're trying to show people is that we didn't celebrate the new moon. We didn't follow the moon. We followed the sun. We weren't worshiping it, but that's what was given to us, a 360-day calendar. It was not a lunar calendar or a lunisolar calendar. That, again, gonna reiterate, look at the nations that had us in captivity, and look at the nations that follow the moon, and it becomes real clear where we got it from. We got it from following the other nations, not the other way around. All right. So Lunar New Year, you can see this, right?
Yes.
Oh no,
yes.
It didn't change. Hold on, share it. All right, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to read through the article. It's not very long. So this is talking about the Lunar New Year. Lunar New Year is the beginning of a new year based on lunar calendars, or informally but more widely, lunisolar calendars. Typically, both types of calendar begin with a new moon, but whilst a lunar calendar year has a fixed number, usually 12, you see it says usually, of lunar months, lunisolar calendars have a variable number of lunar months, resetting the count periodically to resynchronize with the solar year. Because they know, and it's written in our scriptures, that the moon does not fall in line with the sun. So therefore, that's why you got some of our brothers in some of the camps adding a 13th month to the calendar every few years or so that they could get the calendar back in line with the sun, with the solar year, which does not make sense because we were not given a lunar calendar. We're giving a solar calendar, which if you go watch our videos, we show you, we prove to you. The event is celebrated by numerous cultures in various ways at diverse dates. The determination of the first day of a new lunar or lunisolar year varies by culture. In 2023, the United Nations General Assembly designated the Lunar New Year as a UN holiday, recognizing the Spring Festival that coincides with the Chinese New Year and is also celebrated in China, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, and Korea, among others. Some states in the US, including California and New York, officially celebrate the Lunar New Year as a public holiday in recognition of the Chinese New Year. The better known celebrations include New Year's based on the lunar Islamic calendar, and the lunisolar Jewish calendar. So what some of you got to realize and go back and research and look it up yourselves, that when the earlier brothers, originators of uh, this Israelite movement back in the 60s or however, with some of the original camps that they sprang from. Oh my gosh, why did my mind? It was just at the tip of my tongue. My mind just went blank. Oh my gosh, the original camp that Abba Bivens had left. I can't remember the name now. It just escaped me. Just it'll pop in my head later on. But they were originally, when they first, began, they were still learning. So a lot of the customs that they adopted were from Amalek, from Esau, which, at that time they were following the moon. They were following the crescent moon. What ended up happening is when Abba Bivens broke off and he started looking into it, he started, realizing, wait a second, it wasn't the crescent moon. They made that up. So looking for the alternative and not getting, being able, they don't have the technology, or they didn't have that we have today. But doing the best that they could to, to try and find out the alternative, come to like, wait a minute, no, it's the dark moon. It's not the crescent moon, it's the dark moon. So they started following the dark moon, which today is what the majority of the camps are following now, the dark moon. Still feeling something was wrong. Some camps started looking into it again, like, hey, you know what I mean? It's something not right. So now what we've got is some of the camps are now following the full moon. Like, no, it's not the crescent moon. It's not the dark moon. It's the full moon. And so as time is going on, knowledge is increasing, understanding is increasing. Now we've come to the understanding of actually going into the scriptures, reading what the scriptures are telling us, and finding like, wait a second, there's something not right. Why is it that our new year, our Passovers are ending up like way earlier and earlier each year, and then coming to the realization that it's because we're following the moon, which we're not supposed to be doing. It was never our new year, our holy days were never calculated by the moon. That's not what the Lord gave us. Going into the book of Enoch, which unfortunately some of our brothers have dismissed, and that again goes back to our early elders that started out. Oh, the commandment keepers. That's what it is. It just popped in my head. Told you it popped in my head. the commandment keepers. All right. So now the other one just popped and he just went out too. So both of them will pop into my head. I don't know why it's escaping me, but these early brothers that they started out, again, they didn't have the technology, they didn't have the knowledge that we've got today. They were doing research with what they had at the time, which they actually had to use the Bible and go scripture, precept upon precept, which could take a lifetime to put together a lot of these precepts. Where today with the technology, we showed you what was the last Sabbath, where with the app, we got eSword, you could type in any phrase from the Bible and it'll pop, every scripture will pop up. That's how easy it is for us now. You know what I mean? So it's not that, I came into this with this, abundance of knowledge of the scriptures and members. Like, no, it was just made easier because of the technology to put the precepts together, which precept upon precept, through thy precepts, I get understanding. So that's what allowed us to grow in knowledge so quickly, is because the help of the technology. Without it, I know there is no way I would have been. Well, maybe with the help of the Most High, it may have happened, but that means I would have woken up years ago instead of when I did. So, you know what I mean? He woke me up at the time he felt was my time. And at that time is when this technology, was brought about. You know what I mean? As far as the apps and just being able to go through these scriptures quickly and find precepts faster, and being able to research a little bit easier and faster. You don't have to go to the library now to look at books. There's almost any book you want is in PDF form online. You know what I mean? So it makes it easier to do reason. We've shown you that before. How many times have we pulled up books on PDF that you could go to the library, go to your bookstore to buy? You don't have to do it anymore. So that's what's made it easier. But again, knowledge is increasing, and we've got to come to the understanding that our forefathers were not given a lunar calendar. That's not what was given to us. And further, and this is just Wikipedia. You know what I mean? I just pulled this up because it's the fastest and easiest one to go to. When you look at the history, what we're looking at right now of lunar calendars, you can see that all the other nations outside of our people were following a lunar calendar. As you can see, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Singaporeans, Malaysians, Japanese, the Koreans, the Islam, the Arabs, of course, Amalek, the Jewish calendar, as they call a lunisolar, and as it says, that originated in the Middle East. The Middle East is a geopolitical region encompassing the Arabian Peninsula, the Levant, Turkey, Egypt, Iran, and Iraq. So again, Arab nations. And we know the Middle East was, something new. We know it was not called the Middle East, and there was no Middle East back in the biblical times. All right. We know that. But going by today's terminology and what they're using today as the Middle East, these are Arab nations that, or the calendar that the Jews are following today, the fake Jews, originated in the Middle East from Arabs. All right. The lunisolar Chinese calendar and Tibetan calendar of East Asia, and the lunisolar Buddhist and Hindu calendars of Southeast and South Asia. So again, when it comes to dealing with these lunar calendars, there's always an abundance of idolatry involved in them. All right. Definition. Lunar New Year's and lunisolar New Year's are events celebrated by billions of people across the world on the first new moon of their calendar. Typically, the new year of a purely lunar calendar is determined by the first new moon after the end of a cycle of 12 lunar months and ignores the solar cycle. The new year of a lunisolar calendar is typically determined by the first, second, or even third new moon after the winter solstice or after an equinox. The Islamic New Year, also called the Hijri New Year or One Muharram, is determined by the Islamic calendar, a purely lunar calendar. Lunisolar New Year celebrations in East and Central Asia, such as Chinese New Year, are based on a lunisolar calendar. Chinese New Year usually falls on the second new moon after the winter solstice, rarely the third if an intercalary month intervenes. So this whole intercalary month jargon that you hear some of our brothers in the camps using in reference to the second month of Adar, when they're explaining to their congregations, when they may be asked, well, how come we're adding a 13th month to the calendar? And they just kind of brush it off with, oh, something our forefathers did, the second month of Adar, because of Esau changing the calendar, and the days not lining up with Esau's calendar. That's not the only reason. It's the fact that the moon does not stay in alignment with the sun whatsoever when it comes to counting days. It just doesn't do it. All right. So that term intercalary month is not something that our people made. That's something of the other nations. Some lunisolar New Year celebrations, such as in Korea and Vietnam, generally fall on the same day as the Chinese celebration in late January, February, due to being based on the Chinese calendar or variation of it. However, celebration customs and holiday durations may differ. Lunisolar New Year celebrations of other cultures, such as Burmese, Cambodian, Lao, Sri Lankan, and Thai people, are based on the Buddhist calendar and incur in mid-April. Rosh Hashanah, the new year in the lunisolar Hebrew calendar, is based on the September equinox. Although lunisolar New Year would be a more accurate term, the name Lunar New Year has been promoted by people from some Asian countries, especially in Vietnam and South Korea, leading to a rise in its use in the United States of America. Lunar New Year is strongly associated with Chinese Americans, and Chinese New Year is commonly used as a translation by people of non-Chinese backgrounds. Chinese New Year is the official name of the celebration and holiday in some countries, such as Singapore, Brunei, and Malaysia. However, the celebration has officially been known as Spring Festival in China since the founding of the Republic of China in 1912, when the previous name, Yuandan, the first day, was assigned to the first day of the Gregorian calendar. Chinese people outside China refer to it as both Lunar New Year as well as Chinese New Year since at least the mid-2010s. There has been criticism in the United States regarding the use of the term Chinese New Year in an official capacity, particularly by Korean and Vietnamese people. Some American politicians have avoided using the term Chinese New Year in preference for Lunar New Year. All right, celebrations by region: Middle East and West Asia. Lunar New Year and lunisolar New Year celebrations that originated in the Middle East fall on different days. The lunar Hijri calendar, used by most of Islam, is a purely lunar calendar comprising 12 lunar months. I'm not going to read all of it. I just want you to get the idea here. So we see the Arabs use a lunar calendar. In Judaism, there are as many as 4 Lunar New Year observances since the Hebrew calendar is lunisolar. The days always fall in the same season. Then it gives you a list of some of the months. All right. East Asia. Most of East Asia celebrates the lunisolar New Year based on the traditional Chinese calendar, while commonly referred to as Lunar New Year in the Western world is actually lunisolar New Year. Japan observes the solar New Year except for the Ryukyu Islands, which continues to observe the lunisolar New Year. You can see Chinese New Year, Tujia, however you pronounce it, Sagaon, Sar, Mongolian New Year, Hmong New Year. And if you are here in California, especially in Stockton. Um, Stockton is very diverse, and they celebrate a variety of cultural holidays throughout the year because Stockton is such a melting pot that you'll see Hmong New Year, you'll see Vietnamese New Year, you'll see Chinese New Year, you'll see Islamic New Year being celebrated. All these different celebrations. They have like a Filipino festival every year. What is the one that they do for Judah? They just started doing. Is it Juneteenth that they're celebrating in
Yeah,
Stockton?
Juneteenth. I think it's
Juneteenth
Juneteenth.
they're doing Stockton. So they do a abundance of cultural celebrations, you know, in the downtown Stockton area at different times of the year. You know what I mean? You will find them for almost every nationality that's living in Stockton. Like I said, it's a big melting pot, right? Um, you got the Japanese New Year, the Ryukyu New Year, Korean New Year, Vietnamese New Year. It says Tibetans and Mongols celebrate the lunisolar New Year of February or early March based on the closely related Tibetan calendar. Chinese Mongols celebrate Saga Ansar according to Chinese calendar because I don't even want to try and pronounce that, the Uyghurs base their dates on the Chinese calendar, and the Mongols and Tibetans adopted the Uyghur calendar. I'm not laughing at the culture. I don't even know how to begin to pronounce it. It says Tibetan and Mongolian New Year can either coincide with the Chinese New Year or take place around 1 month later. The Sagaan Sar, Mongolian New Year, Losar, Tibet New Year. And then you could go through and just read, you got China that celebrates, Korea celebrates, Taiwan, Japan, South Asia, and even broken down even more, by regions in South Asia. India, so they don't have much about that. So various lunar calendars continue to be used throughout India in traditional religious life. However, they are different from the Chinese lunisolar calendar used in East Asia. The two most common Lunar New Year celebrations in India are Diwali and Gudi Padwa Ugad Putandu. Diwali typically falls in October or November, and Gudi Padwa Ugadi Putandu typically falls in April. I hope I'm pronouncing them right. In ancient times, the sun's entry into Aries coincides with the equinox. However, due to the Earth's axial precession, the sidereal year is slightly longer than the tropical year, causing the dates to gradually drift apart. Today, the sun's entry into Aries occurs around 18 April, according to astronomical definitions. Some traditional calendars are still marked by the sun's actual movements, while others have since been fixed to the Gregorian calendar. The sun's entry into Aries is known as Meses Sankranti and Sanskrit and is observed as Misha Sankranti and Sankran in South and Southeast Asian countries or cultures. Sorry about that. But again, you can see even in India, they use the lunar calendar. Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, in North America, Canada is even starting. It says Habiyi, also spelled Habiyi, is the new year of Nisga's people celebrated in February and March. It signifies the emergence of the first crescent moon and begins the month Buxlocks. Celebrations of Habiyi are done by Nisgas wherever they are located, but the largest celebrations are in Nisgas itself and in areas with the largest Nisgas present, like Vancouver. All right. All right, but you can see we read this earlier up top. It says the United Nations has recognized, this new year, um, celebrated worldwide. That's why all of a sudden now, around that time, you all the news stations, everybody's running around, oh, happy Lunar New Year and all this stuff. Um, but what we're trying to show you by reading this is for you to understand that all the other nations celebrate a lunar calendar. That's not what we were supposed to be celebrating. That's not what was given to us. We were not made to be like the other nations. So it would behoove you go and do your own research. Again, watch our videos, go read the precepts, and 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 get the truth. You know what I mean? So that's what we're waiting for. We're praying. There are some camps that are following this calendar. There are a few camps. Some of them are starting it on the Sabbath day, which we tried to point out also is they're mistaken in doing that, and we show the reasons why. But they're, you know what I mean? It's happening. People are Lord's will, you know what I mean? They'll look at it again and be like, you know what? We are starting it on the wrong day. But there are some that are actually starting at the same day that we are. There's one particular camp that I know, they actually started on Wednesday at sundown and go from there, which also when you read the scriptures that they're mistaken with that also. And we point that out in the reasons why in our videos. All right. But again, go watch our videos. There are 4 of them. Just go on YouTube. If you're watching this video, all you got to do is go to our channel and watch the videos. All right. Going to leave that right there. Again, spring is coming up on Monday at sundown, going into Tuesday, and then New Year from Tuesday evening until Wednesday evening. All right. The first day of the first month. A couple of weeks after that, we go right into our Passover. All right. So Passover is coming up. And again, just point it out. Let me say it again. The time change, it happens next Sunday, which again lets you know that Esau knows exactly when the true New Year begins. All right. They wouldn't be changing the time at this particular date and time if they didn't. All right, so we're going to leave that right there. Let's get to our lesson. That's not the lesson. Again, the title of this lesson is Thine Enemies Shall Be Found Liars Unto Thee. We're going to be continuing the lesson that we began last Sabbath. Let's start off with Hebrews 5:12 through 14.
The book of Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12. For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have neither one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
All right. So again, our people need to be taught, especially like we just went over the calendar. Again, knowledge is increasing, and we've got to correct, the mistakes that our earlier brothers may have made when they were going through the scriptures and started following certain customs. All right. We're trying to get back to following our own customs. And one of the customs that we have been following all this time that we thought was right, we thought it was right. We were following the moon at one point. All right. So we pray that more of our brothers will come to the knowledge and understand that, we weren't supposed to be following the moon like the other nations. We weren't supposed to be following that. And that's another thing, that we could go into in another lesson about the lies that were taught to us by our enemies. As the title of the class says, thine enemy shall be found liars unto thee. They lied to us about the calendar. Daniel tell us that they would think to change times and laws. They made some changes, but not as drastic as some of our people think they did. As far as, taking us from a lunar calendar to a solar calendar. No, you got to remember that Esau is Jacob's brother. Esau grew up with Jacob. You know what I mean? So they essentially grew up in the same household, following basically the same customs. Yeah, Esau broke off, but not as drastic as people may think. All right. And that's what we're going to be getting into actually in this lesson. That they changed who the people of the book are to hide the fact that we are the people of the book, you so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Thine enemy shall be found liars unto thee, because they tell you today that Christ, the Most High himself, the Father, the Israelites, the people of the book, all the fathers that we read about in the book, like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, the 12 patriarchs, they tell us that everybody looked like them. We've been lied to. They've basically essentially told us that we're not the people of the book and that they are the people of the book. And that's what we're going to be going through today. That's why our people need to be retaught, because a lot of our people have a misunderstanding and a lot of misconceptions about who this book is about, who it was written for, who it was given to, who the people are that the Lord made the covenant with, who the people are that broke the covenant, who the actual people of God are today in today's modern times. People are confused about it. Actually, a lot of people don't even think about it because they've just been brought up from childhood believing that the people that are over in the land now are the people of the book, and they're not. That's why our people have to be retaught so that they can learn who we truly are and understand that our enemies have lied to us. We've been lied to from the moment we were born. We were given birth to in this land, in this nation. All right. So it would behoove you to want to learn. You got to desire the sincere. Go to 1 Peter 2:2. Let's go ahead and get it. I forgot to put the Hebrews 5:12-14 up. All right, 1 Peter 2:2.
The book of 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 2. As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby.
So you have to desire the sincere milk of the word. You've got to want to grow in this truth. You've got to want to learn. You've got to want to know the truth. All right. Last Sabbath, as we began this lesson, we went through a long list of lies that they told us, and that doesn't even scratch the surface of the amount of lies that we've been told throughout our lifetime. All right. Just simple things about where our home, where our homeland is, where we come from, what kind of customs we kept. They made us out to just be a bunch of savages that had no kind of culture. We were basically supposedly just running around butt naked and had no culture, no customs, no language. Like I said last Sabbath, like we're just running around, screaming ooga booga booga booga, like they paint us out to be in some of these old movies you may watch. You go back and you watch the old Tarzan TV show from back in the day, the old black and white Tarzan show, and the way they portrayed our people over there in Africa. And then you watch some of the old cowboy and Indian movies, from back in the day, and how they portrayed, our brothers and sisters over here in those TV shows and movies. they tried to make us out again to look like we were just savages. We were nobodies. All right. But we also got to remember that nobody knows who we are because of our own doing. The Most High causes. We've got to remember that we were told. I think that was one of the last precepts we went over last Sabbath. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and read verse 26.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 26. I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
So the Lord told us, he said, I would make the remembrance of them, meaning us, the Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, to cease from among men. So now when people of the world see a so-called black man, they don't see a Judite. They just see a black man, or one of the bywords. They see a nigger or a nigga. You know what I mean? Or a porch monkey. Whatever one of these bywords you want to use, a jigaboo. That's what they see when they see us. When they see one of our Northern Kingdom brothers, they don't see an Israelite. You know what I mean? They're not seeing the Issacharite. They're not seeing that. They're not seeing an Ephraimite. In their eyes, they're looking, just at, a Mexican. You know what I mean? Some of the terms that they may use, what is it? I don't know why my mind's going blank again. Well, some of them, like, they call them wetback. What are some of the other terms that they use? Come on, give me some.
Beaners.
All right, beaner. Some of the bywords, you know what I mean? So we've got to remember that this is how they view us. This is the titles, the words that they've used to describe our people. You know what I mean? So they're not calling us Israel. They don't. So the people of the world don't know that we're the Israelites, right? Because the Lord has caused the remembrance of us being the Israelites to cease from among men. They have no clue. They have no idea, especially when they look at our people and they see how we're living. We're not matching the people of the book in the way that we carry ourselves. We were told that this book was our wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. The other nations are supposed to see us keeping God's commandments and saying in their minds that, man, this is a wise and understanding people. Deuteronomy 4:5. Just grab it real quick. Deuteronomy 4:5 and 6.
Wait, I'm lost. Deuteronomy 4, 5, 6?
Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verses 5 through 6.
Yeah, I went past it. Here we go. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgment, even as the Lord my God had commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
So they should be looking at us saying, this great nation is a wise and understanding people. They got MAGA, Make America Great Again, and we crack jokes, all the time. When was America ever great? But when have we acted like a great nation?
Right.
When have we acted like that great nation that the Lord expected us to be, where the other nations look at us and say, man, that's a great nation. Look at them. Look at the talent. Look at how intelligent they are. Look at the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding they've got. When has any culture on earth, especially during these modern times, looked at our people and felt that way about us and expressed that about us? I can't think of any time. I cannot think of any time that we've shown them that we are the people of the book, that we are God's chosen people by acting like God's chosen people. So it was easy for our enemies to lie to the world and say they're not the God's people. But they forgot that the Lord left breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? For us to follow, for us to remember who we are, and for the world to be able to know who we are. Right here in the scriptures. So they told us that, we come from Africa. We were just some Bushmen. Our brothers that were over here, they're just Native Americans. They're just native to this land. They were just here. Well, the Lord shows us in the scriptures how our brothers got from over there to over here. The Lord left in the scriptures breadcrumbs for us to understand how our Southern Kingdom brothers and sisters went from Jerusalem to over here, and that it was prophesied that it would happen on cargo slave ships. We're gonna cover all that. All right. So the Bible clearly tells us who the people of the book are in today's times, what to look for. The problem is a lot of people have been put to sleep by Christianity and by our enemies, who have lied also to them. They've lied to the world. Not only have they lied to us, they've lied to the world to put the world to sleep, having them believe that they are the people of the book, while telling us that, we especially Southern Kingdom, we just come from Africa. You guys were just some Bushmen that we brought over here from Africa and told us that Africa was our homeland, that Africa is the motherland. And a lot of our people have embraced that. And the motherland, Africa. But the scriptures tells us what our motherland actually is. Go to Galatians 4:26. Where is our homeland? The scriptures tells us.
The book of Galatians chapter 4 and verse 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
Which is the mother of us all. The motherland of the Israelites, the true Israelites, is Jerusalem. That is the motherland. That is the mother of us all. And the all is talking about the Israelites, the Southern Kingdom and Northern Kingdom. Our Northern Kingdom brothers that were here when they came here, when Esau landed here, that's their motherland also. Our brothers and sisters, including myself, that were that are of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and there are still some other Northern Kingdom that are mixed in there, because all the Northern Kingdom did not come over here. There was still, when you read the New Testament, there was still a lot of Northern Kingdom and a lot of the other lands, including in Jerusalem at that time. All right. They were spread out. So when you read about, the book of Acts and how they were going from all these different cities and lands and things like that, waking up Northern Kingdom, that lets you know not all Northern Kingdom came over here. So even some of our brothers that were over in Africa with us that fled in 70 AD, some of them were Northern Kingdom. Not every single one of them was Southern Kingdom. That's why, to a certain point, it is really hard for us to know exactly which tribe we're from. For all I know, I could have been a Northern Kingdomer, you know what I mean, who father way down the line fled Jerusalem or fled in 70 AD and went into Africa with Southern Kingdom. Don't know. It's possible. So, in thinking that, what, my forefathers were brought here on cargo slave ships, I must be Southern Kingdom. All right. Looking at my father, as dark as he is, he's, from what I'm seeing, he's a Judite. That's what I call it, is a Judite, which make me a Judah. All right. But I could get the shock of my life. His fathers, for you just don't know. Like we brought out before, look at the Jacksons. Everybody thinks the Jacksons are Judah. But if you go back and look at their family history, they're not Judah, they're Gad. A lot of people don't know that the patriarch of the Jacksons, great grand, I think it was the great grandfather, one of the two, was pure so-called Native American that married a Judite slave and came together and had a family. And that's where the Jackson's father, Joe Jackson, that's why he had hazel eyes. The complexion of his skin, he wasn't completely dark, but that's why the Jackson brothers looked the way they did. But even among them, you can see that they all didn't look exactly alike. All right. But that goes to show you that you really can't just look at someone and know exactly that, oh, okay, he's Southern Kingdom. Oh, yeah, they're Northern Kingdom. All right. So, but again, Galatians 4:26, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Our motherland is not Africa. Our motherland is Jerusalem, is Israel. That's where our forefathers originated. The land that was allotted to them, when you go back and you read the scriptures, through Moses and Joshua, which was given to us by the Most High. So you got to keep that in mind. Some of the other lies, they've taken our book from us and told us that, the God of the Bible was white. Told us Christ was white. They told us that the 12 patriarchs were white, because if, that's the only way all the Jews could be Caucasian, is that would have to mean that all of the 12 tribes were Caucasian. All right. So they've told us these things, and our people haven't even. It's sad that in so-called 2025 today, that there are Israelites, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans walking around still believing that the Jews over in Israel today are the Jews, that they're the true Israelites, that they're the true Jews, that they're still believing all the images that they're seeing in the churches, that they're still believing all these statues and images that they've planted all over Central, South, and North America, making the people of the book to look like them. All right, so that's what we're going to get into. They said that God is a so-called is white, but that's not what the scripture shows us. And we're going to show you, all right, that's false. That's a lie. Let's go to Daniel 7:9. Listen to the description of Daniel and the Most High and see if that fits the paintings that they give us of what they say God looks like.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire.
So it says that the Father sitting on the throne, because that's what we're talking about and reading about in Daniel 7 and 9, says that he had hair of pure wool. All right. Go to John 14 and verse 8 and read 8 through 9.
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 8. Philip said unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Jesus said unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, Show us the Father?
So what we're reading, Philip saith unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. All right. Basically what he's saying is it'll satisfy us. Show us the Father, and that'll satisfy us. We'll be satisfied. And Christ responds. Christ says, Jesus saith unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. Why is he saying that? Because he looked just like his dad. Just like any of us, we're going to have some kind of resemblance to our Father. He's telling us straight, you've seen me, you've seen my Father. The scripture says that Christ has what? Woolly hair. The Father has woolly hair. The scripture says Christ had, his skin was burned as if it was bronze, as if it burned in a fire, or brass, as if it burned in a fire. So the description that the scriptures give of Christ is the same with the Father. They said that the Father looked like them, that he looked European. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says he had hair like wool. They say that Christ was European. In fact, all you got to do is watch this. Let me share my screen again. I want you to even watch me do it. Let me know when you can see it.
There it is.
All right. So I'm just going to type in Jesus Christ. That's it. And watch what pops up. Go to images. All the images of this dude. And nobody never takes the time to question except the Israelites. Other than the Israelite groups that are out there trying to spread the awareness, our people have not taken the time to even question where these images came from and why Christ was made to look like a so-called white man, and not the description that's given in the scriptures. Let's go to Revelation 1 and read 9 through 15. Let's see what the Bible says. We're gonna hold on one second. Hold on. What am I trying to do? Oh, I was trying to see. Okay. Share this tab instead. This is what I was looking at. This is what you guys should have been seeing. Now you see it?
Yes.
All right. So all these images, when I was saying all these images, I didn't know it didn't change the tab. But these are all the images that, that I was mentioning. You type in Jesus Christ, and this is what pops up. So what does the Bible say? Does the Bible give this description? So he's going to read the description given in the scriptures of Christ, and we're going to see if it matches any of this. Go ahead.
The book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 9. I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation and in the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ, was in the isles that is called Patmos for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. I was in the
So John
spirit.
was banished to the island of Patmos because he was teaching the word. He was teaching about Christ, and he got arrested and thrown into prison. Basically, go ahead.
I was in the spirit on the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet.
So he was in the spirit on the Lord's day, meaning the Sabbath day. Just like today is the Sabbath day, and we're in the spirit on the Lord's day. We're learning, we're studying the scriptures, we're reading the scriptures, we're giving interpretation of the scriptures. We're praying on this day. Some people may be fasting on this day. So on this day, we're supposed to be in the spirit on the Lord's day. Go ahead.
Right. Saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book,
He
and
says,
send it on.
what thou seest, write in the book. In other words, what you see, I want you to write it down. Go ahead.
And send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Samaria, and unto Pergamos, and unto Pergama?
Yes,
Pergama?
Smyrna, Pergamos.
Smyrna. Pergamos.
Yeah.
And
Words,
unto how's that one?
I call it Thyatira, but Thyatira is one of those.
Thyatira, and unto Sardius, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
So you have some people that say nobody's ever seen Christ. Christ is a spirit. You know what I mean? That he's just a puff of smoke that don't really exist, I guess. Why does he have a garment? Why is he wearing clothes?
Right.
You know what I mean? If he's got no body. So now let's go on reading the description. Let's look at all these images and see if the description that is given in the scriptures matches any of this. Go ahead.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
His head and his hairs were white like wool. No woolly hair, 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 no woolly hair. They're trying to make it curly and try and say, well, it's like a sheep's long curly hair. No woolly hair, no woolly hair, no white woolly hair, no white woolly hair, no white woolly hair, no, 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 and no. All right, go ahead.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Meaning his eyes were red because he drank wine in moderation. You see, his eyes are clearly white and blue. Let's see. He looks like, yep, he's got the blue eyes. Yeah, he's got the blue eyes, and it kind of interchanges. Sometimes they'll give him blue eyes. Now, sometimes they'll give him brown eyes. They'll kind of mix it up like this one. Can't really tell. It's too dark. Let me see. Can you see this one? Looks like blue, but his eyes are a little closed. All right, this one here, it looks like they try to give him kind of like a hazel tint kind of color on this one. But majority of the time, they give him blue eyes. All right, so eyes is a flame of fire. Nope, no match. Go ahead.
Right. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice is the sound of. many
Oh,
waters.
go ahead, go ahead.
And his voice is the sound of many waters.
All right, and his feet like unto fine brass. If you look at the majority of the pictures that are shown of what they call Christ, they rarely ever show his feet. And there's a reason for that, because they know that if you go into the scriptures, like this one here, barely shows his foot right there. His foot matches. I don't know why it won't let me do it. It keeps covering it. But you can see his foot matches the color of his hands, which matches the color of his face, right? Is that a foot that looks like fine brass, as if it burned in a furnace?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. Let's find another. See, they have another one that shows his feet. All right, here we go, walking on water. Do those look like feet of fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace?
No.
Not at all. Let's see. Here's one. Are these popping up on here when I
Yes.
click on? Oh, okay, good, good. They actually got one of him on the cross. Does that look like feet of fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace? And notice his feet match the description of all the rest of his body. All right. Not at all. All right. So here's a dark one, but it's still, I bet the shape of Caesar bow is just put on dark wood. Let me see. Yeah, it's still a picture of Caesar bow. It's just on dark wood, that's all. Let me see if there's any other ones that show his feet. Is that one showing his foot? Nope. I'm serious. When you look, it's rare that you will find a artist rendering where it's actually showing his feet. This one, he's got on sandals. He's licking. You see the feet. They match his hands. They match his face. That does not look like feet that look like fine brass burned in a furnace. All right. So again, you got to ask the question, where did these images come from? All right. Let's go to Daniel 10 and verses 5 through 6.
The book of Daniel. The book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 5.
Hold on 1 second, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, I apologize. Doorbell ring. I'm like, who's ringing the doorbell on a Sabbath day? You know what I mean? And go down there's nobody there. So where was I at? Oh, Daniel 10 and 5 through 6. Go ahead and read.
The book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 5. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. And the
And
voice
his,
of his
I'm sorry, and his arms and his feet likened to color of polished brass. So now it's not just talking about his feet like in Revelation. Daniel is even talking about his arms. So there is no way Esau can really get away with covering it up, except for people not reading. Go ahead.
right, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude.
All right. So here we go. Let's look. His arms and his feet, like in color to polished brass. That don't look like polished brass. Don't look like polished brass. His arms are the same color as his face. But again, it's hard to find a picture or any artist drawing that actually shows his arms and his feet. It's not by accident. All right. This one here barely shows his arms. Not the color of polished brass, as if it burned in a furnace. Look at the arms. They're trying to make this one a little bit darker. But even so, still not even close. Don't look like polished brass that's burned in a furnace. See more images. Yeah, it's real hard to find any images where they actually show his arms and his feet. But we know this is not Christ. This, you know what I mean? You got to ask yourself the question, where did these images come from? Because it does not match the description given in the scriptures. The description given in the scriptures is basically letting us know that Christ was a dark-skinned so-called black man that came from the tribe of Judah. So there is no way that this is Christ. But you got billions of people around the world worshiping this image. Why is that? Let's go to Revelation 13 and 11 through 15. This is the reason why.
The book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wounds was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he
That they
had
should
power.
make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. Go ahead.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
And that's exactly what they did when they came over here to North America. The so-called Spanish conquistadors, they came here with these priests. They brought this image of Caesar Borgia. And basically, if our people would not worship the image, they'd be killed. That's what would happen. You either worship this or you're going to die. That's what happened. All right. So this image that we're looking at is the image of the beast that the book of Revelation talks about. Unfortunately for our people are too caught up on fables. Our people are too caught up on make-believe, that when they hear in Revelation about the beast, monsters and ghouls and goblins pop up in their head, because that's what's been fed to us through Esau's media. All right. So as it says in verse 14 again, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So they had power to give life to this, to truly make people believe that this was Christ. And how did they do it? They did it through their media. Like, for instance, let me do this. Go to YouTube. Oops, I put UYU. I don't want the images. YouTube. Can you see? No, it went off. All right. So let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
So how did they give life to the image and so that it could speak? Share screen again. So a lot of us, when we're growing up, around Christmas time, this movie came on every year. The movie Jesus of Nazareth. So I'm not gonna play it because I don't want them, I don't want any issues. It seems like every time I play a video, something always comes of it, get emails and stuff like that. But this is how they did it, through their media, by making movies such as this movie, Jesus of Nazareth. You could see in the movie, everybody looks Caucasian. Christ is Caucasian. And this is where you read about in the scriptures where he picked up the book of Isaiah and began to read and said that the scriptures are fulfilled. Look at all the people. They're all Caucasian. They're all Edomites. Today in your hearing, the scriptures are fulfilled. So through his media, he was able to give life to this image through movies, motion picture. So they didn't have to rely just on an image anymore, on a picture. Now you've got what's called motion picture movies that could actually take that picture, take that image and make it walk and talk and give it life as an actual man. Is get the other one. The more modern one. Actually, supposedly they're making a Passion of the Christ too.
Oh no.
that's supposed to, I believe, deal mainly with the resurrection or something. Caps lock. That's why. If you don't remember when this movie was coming out, sometime around the early 2000s, I believe it was. They had big old banners on churches, big, huge banners out in front of the churches. Sign up, go watch The Passion. They were pushing this movie heavy when it came out, and you can see the effect this movie had, especially on the black church, because this really made black people believe in white Jesus. Watching this movie, seeing Jesus getting beat, look at his eye all busted up, blood all on him. And now, with them being able to give this kind of life, actually, this isn't that long. Let me click on this one, play this one.
If you're looking to sell your car, Carvana will give you a real offer in seconds. You will be paid right when they pick up your car at your home.
So they were able to give life to the image where it can speak, it can walk, it can move. It could bring all the damage and image that Christ endured to life on the big screen, and had people in the movie theaters crying, Christians coming out with tears in their eyes. I'm renewed as a Christian. You know, they were doing interviews and hearing people. Let me see if I can find any of that. Give me a second. Passion of the Christ movie premiere. See what pops up. Here we go.
Do you expect to have this reaction when you heard about the movie? To have this reaction? No. It's a great
Look at these people coming out the theater crying.
A couple times I had to turn my head.
Our Lord died in that way for our sins.
People don't understand what kind of impact. This is what we're battling. This is what they did with that movie to our people.
And just the sacrificial lamb. I mean, if it was easy, it isn't worth much.
Do you expect to have this reaction when you heard about the movie?
To have this reaction.
So when I said people were literally coming out of the theater crying and stuff like that, oh, it was 2004. I remember seeing it on the news. It was like, man, these people are out of their minds. Let me see. Is that the only video they got? Yeah, so only one they've got of the premiere, it looks like. Let me see. Yeah, see, where's it at? I want to go back.
Word on the street is that you're going to do a follow-up to The Passion, and it's going to be written by Randall Wallace, who, how many of you have seen the film Braveheart? Have you seen Braveheart? Okay, yeah. Randall Wallace wrote that film, and so you and Randall are talking about writing a sequel to The Passion. So is that going to really happen?
We're talking about that, and it's called The Resurrection.
That's right.
And
That's right.
of course, that's a very big subject.
Yeah.
It needs
he's conflicted
we don't want to.
because supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not. I've been having videos pop up. I haven't watched it, where Mel Gibson is supposedly saying that Christ is black and he can prove it.
Word on the street is that you're going to.
So he may have had an epiphany and now starting to realize, like, wait a minute.
By Randall Wallace,
Mm.
who, how many of you have seen the film Braveheart? Have you seen Braveheart? Okay, yeah.
Mel Gibson says that Christ is black. Let me see. You know, sometimes you have those videos pop up and they, oh, Mel Gibson says that Christ is black and I can prove it. I never clicked on them, so you don't know if they're actually true or not, or if they're one of those AI, especially nowadays. Oh, here it is right here, supposedly. Let me see. See if that's what actually he said, because I haven't watched it yet.
Pretty interesting thing to throw into the mix. I know when I first started, it was kind of confusing, but then I got really good at it.
Mel Gibson just proved everyone wrong. He just claimed and proved that Jesus is black. Some shocking footages of his new movie, The Passion of the Christ, showed us that the images we used to think was Christ were actually not him. So, if all the pictures and status that hung in churches weren't Jesus Christ, who are they? And what does the real Jesus Christ look like? Join us as we dive into Mel Gibson's proofs that Jesus is black.
Oh, it's a whole 20-minute video. We don't have time to watch this whole thing.
Mel Gibson has always been a controversial figure. And when The Passion of the Christ was released in 2004,
I'm not gonna play it. It's too long. I'm gonna watch this later because I've been wanting to click on it. I just haven't done it yet to see if it's a real video or is he actually really saying that Christ is black. Because if he is, that may be the reason why he's been putting off making this other movie, because I believe he's been talking about this second movie for a while. That he's conflicted that, you know what, am I going to keep propagating a lie, or am I going to put the movie out using, you know, the same actor and all, you know what I mean, and just go along with it. We'll see. But the video is right here. I knew this video kept popping up on YouTube. But as we can see, though, what we're trying to show you is that we've been lied to about who Christ is and how he looked and how the Father looked and so on. And the image that they gave us is the image of the beast that the scriptures have warned us about. Let's go to the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verses 15 through 21.
The Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 15. For a father afflicted with untimely mourning, when he had made an image of his child soon taken away, now honor him as a god, which was then a deemed man, and delivered to those. Say that again. Which
was then a dead man.
Right. Which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandment of kings, whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far and made an express image of a king whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent as if he was present.
I'll give you an example of what this is talking about, because Esau still follows this to this day. When you go into the post office, you go into the DMV, certain federal buildings and things like that, and you'll see a picture hanging of the governor. Or you may see a picture or an image of the current president hanging in there. They're still following this same practice, that even though they're not there in person, you still have that almost that fear of them, or knowing that they're the ones in charge, they're the ones in power, by that image that they have hanging in there. You're being reminded of who the person is in power, by them hanging this picture in certain places. All right. Sometimes in the schools, you walk into the school and they'll have pictures of the governor or the current president and vice president and things like that. All right. So even in the classrooms, when you do the Pledge of Allegiance, sometimes they'll have the president. I know when I was a kid, and it was up to teachers maybe, but I know I had some teachers where they had the pictures of the presidents hanging up in the classroom and things like that. So go ahead and read on though.
Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstitions. For he, peradventure, willing to place one in an authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the beast fashion.
Of the best fashion. All his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion. So in other words, these artists, they wanted to please the one in authority, or they wanted to get recognition from that politician or whoever it was that was in authority. So they're going to put their best skill forward to make sure they make the best painting or the best sculpture that they can of that person, so that they could get the recognition. Like for instance, was it last year? Who was it that was recognized with the Was it the statue of Kobe Bryant? I believe it was, that they made to put out in front of the arena in LA or something. I believe that's what it was. And people were having a fit because I guess the sculpture didn't look nothing like Kobe Bryant or something. There was something wrong with the sculpture that made people start going crazy, absolutely nuts over it. And I guess apparently they decided to take the sculpture down and redo it or something. Let me see if I can find that. I remember reading about something like that. Statue of Kobe Bryant. This is funny. Can you see this?
Yes.
So what I'm saying, this is funny, is Donald Trump announces Kobe Bryant will get statue in National Garden of American Heroes. Says the late Kobe Bryant joins a list of other prominent figures in American history getting their own statue in the National Guard of American Heroes amid Black History Month. But they want to get rid of Black History Month. He's announcing, and this was, I guess, this year. Yeah, February 20th, 2025. That's, I don't know. I'm telling you, this man is just, double-minded. Let me type in this then. Statue of Kobe Bryant. Uproar. See what that. Here it is. The statue of Kobe Bryant has caused an uproar from fans. The 19-foot bronze sculpture was commissioned by Bryant's widow, Vanessa Bryant, in her husband's honor and stands in front of the Crypto.com Arena in downtown Los Angeles. Bryant will be honored with a statue at the National Guard of American Heroes. That's not saying anything. Go back. All right, here it is. Lakers Kobe Bryant statue features multiple spelling errors. Typos on Bryant statue fixed after errors were spotted at. That's what it was. So people were spotting there was something wrong with the statue, and people were going crazy over it. I guess they fixed it. But again, this is what they have our people looking forward to, getting your own statue when we're not supposed to be making these images. Not supposed to be happening. They have a picture of him, an image of him and his daughter. But our people love idols. Our people love being caught up in idolatry, and Esau knows this. So that's why, you know what I mean, they're so quick to want to give our people a statue. Because what kind of sense? Hey, first, Donald Trump is trying to get rid of Black History Month, and at the same time, we're going to give Kobe Bryant his own statue. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
All right. Were you done reading that?
No. Verse 20.
Okay.
And so the multitude, verse 20, and so the multitude, allured by the grace of the works, took him now for a god, which a little before was but honor as a man. And this was an occasion to deceive the world, for men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name.
So, and this was an occasion to deceive the world. And that's exactly what they did with the image of the beast. It was an occasion, it was a way for them to deceive the world into believing that Christ looked like them, that he didn't look like us. And they did that with all of the the images that they brought out. Like I said, Moses, you go look at Moses and so on, they made them all look like them. Go to First Maccabees 3:48. This explains it.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images.
And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen, meaning the other nations, has sought to paint the likeness of their images. And that's exactly what they did. They took all of the people of the book and made them look like them. Some people read this and they interpret it as that we already had our own images in the book, and they repainted our images. But there is that's not what that's saying. It's just basically telling us that they opened the book and they painted the likeness of their images. The people in the book, they made, painted the people in the book to look like them. It's not saying that we had images in the book. It says, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. It's not saying anything about, I think what's happening with reading it, people are assuming or inferring that we had images there and they took our images out and replaced them with their images. That's not what that's saying. It's just saying that they painted the likeness of their images in the law, in the book of the law. That's it. All right. That's, something people will keep debating for a long time, because we have some of our brothers that find that there's nothing wrong with making the images. All right. We disagree with that. You know what I mean? And we go back again and watch our videos on Commandment 1 and 2 about why we're not supposed to be making these images. All right. But this comes down to, let me share the screen again, of what's called iconoclasm. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, we're the first ones to bring out iconoclasm and all of this. I'm going to tell you straight, I had never even heard of the word iconoclasm until IUIC was the first ones that I know of that brought out iconoclasm and bringing out the Russian icons book, showing, how they took all these images of the people of the book being so-called dark skinned and black and painting them white. So real quick, let me do this iconoclasm so we get an idea of what it is. So let me share my screen again. Can you see it?
It's coming.
Okay. So iconoclasm, we'll go to the Merriam-Webster first. The doctrine, practice, or attitude of an iconoclast. And what's an iconoclast? A person who attacks settled beliefs or institutions, a person who destroys religious images or opposes their veneration. So that's what they did. They destroyed our religious images, replacing them with, those of their own. Let's go back. Oh man, let me do it again. All right. Let's read this definition. Iconoclasm, the action of attacking or assertively rejecting cherished beliefs and institutions or established values and practices. The rejection or destruction of religious images as heretical, the doctrine of iconoclasts. All right. So let's go do this. Russian icons. And you can type it in, Russian icons. It's a book. Like I said, IUIC were the first ones that I know of, maybe 10 years or so more ago, that they brought out, the Russian icons book, started showing that, how the images were being repainted. So you can see some of these images, they come from the Russian icon book. If you want to find one of those books, they're real hard to find and they're real expensive. Really expensive. And the more Israelite camps are purchasing the books and bringing this truth out, the higher the cost of the book is going. Let me see. Let's do this. All right, so you could see, can you guys see that? Oh, it's not even doing it. So I just typed in Russian Icons book for sale. And you can see there's several copies, looks like. Let me just click on. All right, this is Amazon. It's not. But here we go. This is right here. Russian Icons, $2,650. So you can see that this book, and this is for probably one of the original copies, one of the earlier publications of it. $825, $850, $795, $2,475. So you can see that this book is growing more and more. Because I remember back when IUIC first brought it out, it was like 40, 50 bucks. And then after they brought it out, it went up to like $500 or something like that. And now here it is these years later. The more people are bringing it out, the higher the cost of the book is going. This is insane. But if you want to get you a copy of Russian Icons, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. Going to cost you some money. All right. So that book, Russian Icons, again, it shows that there were images all over Europe, because remember, our people ruled Europe for a long while. And there are a lot of images painted in a lot of the churches there, showing that Christ, the early fathers, not fathers, the early fathers, but the early, what do you call them? The early apostles. That's where I'm trying to get out. You know, they were all black. The angels were painted as being black. All of the images. But then somehow now, when you type in on the internet, I don't know why it keeps clicking off the share screen. Can you see it again?
Yes.
All right. So we're just going to type in, start off with the beginning. Let's go Adam and Eve. Type in Adam and Eve and see the images. They all look like Esau. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, all Edomites. They've lied to us. They've been perpetuating this lie for the longest time, that they are the people of the book, hiding the fact that it's actually so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who are the people of the book. Let's go to Noah. Again, images of Noah, so-called white man.
They're not changing.
No, they didn't change. All right. Show this. How's that?
There you go.
Okay. So Noah, so-called white man. Let's go to Abraham. Again, so-called white men. All the images that pop up. Let's go Moses. And you can see all I'm doing is just typing the name in. Here's Moses. Again, so-called white man. The 12 tribes of Israel. See what pops up. It's the landmark. Let me type in Israelites and see. The Israelites. All right. So this is the cartoon renderings of the Israelites being led out of Egypt by Moses, and you can see, look at the images. Moses is white and the Israelites are, they're somewhat trying to make them look somewhat Arab, like white Arabs. Again, all so-called white people, even in the cartoon, white people. The Israelites set out on their journeys. So, which are the Israelites and which are not the Israelites? I guarantee you these are the Israelites, and I bet this is supposed to be the mixed multitude. Let me see. I don't know what this is. I don't know if I should trust this site or not. I can't tell. Is this the movie? What movie is this? But looking at these guys right here, it looks like they're trying to make them look like they're just some Africans. Again, they got to be, you know, almost naked. Whereas I'm sure these are probably the Israelites that they're over here. The Israelites. There we go. IUIC marching. Surprised they got them actually up in there. Who is this? Is that ISUPK? The real Israelites. That's who we are. But here it is. Look at some of our brothers wanting to be with Amalek, not knowing that they are the real Jews, and joining up with these guys. I'm surprised some of these images are actually popping up. But if you look, though, all the images, white people. It's just now, this is, how you say it, Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, ICGJC. I always get tongue-tied when you say it, ICGJC.
Yeah.
All right, this is one of the first images as they were going around teaching that IUIC was using. Hair of wool, beard of white wool, skin of bronze as if it burned in a furnace. Let me see. Let's type in King David. So why are we doing this? To show you that your enemies have lied to you, and they've been lying to you about who the people of the Bible are. King David. Images. King David. Shown as a so-called white man, actually trying to make him look like a Greek. King David. All these images. King David in the movies. White man. At least here they're trying to make him look a little darker. And you can see these images are popping up online now because who's doing it? It's our people now trying to create these images to change the minds of our people so they could understand that the people of the book were black. Now, there's debate as to whether or not we should be making these images, but for teaching purposes right now, it's showing you that the people actually look like this, and now they're making them look like this. You know what I mean? It's a change. Just as we read, open up the book of the law, wherein the heathen sought to paint the likeness of their images. Read that again in 1 Maccabees 3 and 48.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Sought to paint the likeness of their images. So you type in King Solomon. How are all the renderings? So-called white man. And I'm sure this one was probably made by an Israelite somewhere in one of the Israelite camps. That's why they're popping up. They're very few. But Black King Solomon. All right. This is how real Solomon may have looked, but he was a black man, so-called dark-skinned black man. But the images that they've given us, white man, so-called white man. All right, I'll do one more. Let's go to somebody in the New Testament. I'll do Apostle Paul. How's that? Apostle Paul. See what pops up. Again, white man, so-called white man. Except for this one, I believe this one came out of Russian icons that showed what he actually lightened this one up, because the one that's actually in the book is much darker. But you can see so-called white man. So we're showing you that you've been lied to by your enemies. It would behoove you go and do some research. Stop believing the lies that they've told us about this Bible. Apostle Paul preaching in the synagogues. And you wonder why our people are so destroyed. Even the cartoon image of Apostle Paul, this is what they're teaching to the kids. Moses. That's why you got to be real careful what your kids are taught, especially when it comes to the Bible. Many of our people let Disney. Actually, let's try that. Disney biblical cartoons. I think we've done that before. Disney biblical movies. Yeah, the Prince of Egypt is one of them. Let me see. Yeah, the Prince of Egypt. I know there are a lot other. Oh yeah, Joseph. What was it? King of Dreams, the Prince of Egypt. What are some of the other ones? I know Disney has done several cartoons based on Bible stories. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people have allowed to teach their kids about the Bible is Disney, watching Disney cartoons. In which, what do? Made all the images like this. Joseph, King of Dreams. Joseph is supposed to be a white dude. An Arab-looking white dude, a white Arab, basically, is what they're trying to make it look as close as they can to a white guy, but with somewhat Arab features, I guess you can say. I know there was more than Joseph in The Prince of Egypt. And if you really think about it, the Lion King movie is somewhat, how would I put, the Lion of Judah, where they get the concept that they turned into this cartoon. But I think you get the idea now. All right. So we saw all these images, all the image, and this isn't all of them, but just typing in at random characters from the scriptures or people from the Bible, Adam and Eve and Noah, Abraham, Moses, the 12 tribes and so on, King David, Solomon, Apostle Paul. But do these images match what the Bible says? All right. We just saw that they gave us white images of the 12 tribes. Let's see, go to Jeremiah 14:2. Let's see what the Bible says about what the Jews look like.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 14 and verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and they cry, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up.
All right, so you have some brothers coming out that disagree that that's what this is talking about the skin tone of Judah in Jeremiah. They're trying to precept it with another precept that is talking about the gates of Jerusalem being burnt. But in Jeremiah 14:2, this is talking about the leadership, the people of Israel languishing, that our leadership is languishing. And how do we know that? Give me 1 second. Where did I go? There it is, Jeremiah 14. When you continue to read, it's clear that this is talking about our leadership. Read verse 3.
Jeremiah 14:3. And their nobles have sent their little ones, and their nobles.
Their nobles. What is your nobles? Let's look it up.
Mhm.
Meaning like you're notable men. What does it mean to be noble? Let me share it. That's why you got to read. You can't just listen to everything people are saying on, teaching, because you really have people going around teaching now that Jeremiah 14:2, not talking about what they look like, that their skin was blackened to the ground, is talking about the gates of Jerusalem, because Jerusalem got burnt down, that the gates were, literally burnt to the ground. Like, yeah, that is true, but that's not in the context of what we're reading in Jeremiah 14:2. That's not talking about the actual gates of Jerusalem. It's talking about the leadership. And you know that when you read the next verse, if you've got reading comprehension. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Noble, belonging to a hereditary class with high social or political status, aristocratic. Gives you an example: the Duchess of Kent and other noble ladies. Having or showing fine personal qualities or high moral principles and ideals. So now going back to Jeremiah 14, I'll read verse 1-3. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. The dearth is talking about the famine that was going on within Jerusalem. All right. It says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. You know, this is talking about the gates, is talking about the leadership, because that's what the gates sometimes is referring to in the scriptures. And we know that in this verse, because when you read in context, verse 3, and their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads. So their nobles is talking about their high social, or the people of high social or political status, or what we would call aristocrats, is what this is talking about. All right, go ahead and start at verse 4 and read on.
Verse 4? Or
Mm-hmm.
Verse 4. Because the ground is chaff, for there was no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed, they covered their heads.
Because the dearth is talking about the famine that was going on. Why was there a famine going on? Because there was no rain, no water. There was a drought. Go ahead, read on.
The hin also clave in the field, and the force
behind also calved in the field.
Yeah, the hind also calved in the field and forsook it, because there was no grass.
There was no grass because there was a drought, and because there was drought, there was no food for the calves, the cows, the animals to eat. Go ahead.
And the wild asses did stand in the high places. They snuffed up the wind like dragons. Their eyes did fail because there was no grass.
There was no food. Go ahead.
Oh Lord, though our iniquities testified against us, do thou it for thy name's sake. For our backslidings are many, we have sinned against thee.
So they are acknowledging that, okay, you're doing this to us because we sinned against you. Go ahead.
Oh, the hope of Israel, the Savior thereof, in time of trouble, why shouldest thou be as a stranger in the land, and as a wayfaring man that turneth aside to tarry for a night? Why shouldest thou be as a man stunneth, as a mighty man that cannot save? Yet thou, O Lord, art in the midst of us, and we are called by thy name. Leave us not. Thus said the Lord unto this people, thus have they loved to wander. They have not refrained their feet. Therefore the Lord does not accept them. He will now remember their iniquity and visit their sins.
So therefore he caused drought and famine. And it's going to tell us, go ahead.
Um, then said the Lord unto me, pray not for this people for their good. When they fast, I will not hear their cry, and when they offer burnt offerings and oblations, I will not accept them. But I will consume them by the sword and by the famine and by the pestilence.
And I will not accept them, but I will consume them by the sword and by the famine and by the pestilence. Now, again, this next verse also reiterates the fact that the gate is talking about the leadership languishing. Go ahead.
Then said I, Lord God, behold, the prophets say unto them, ye shall not see the sword, neither shall ye have famine, but I will give you a sure place in this place. I
I
mean,
will
a sure
give,
peace,
yeah.
a sure peace in this place. Then the Lord said unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesied unto you a false vision and divisions and a thing of naught and the deceit of their hearts.
And divination and a thing of naught and the deceit of their heart. So you can see this whole thing that we're reading. Is this talking about Jerusalem being burnt up? It's not talking about Jerusalem being burnt up. It's talking about how weak our leadership is and how they've lied to the people. The prophets prophesy lies in my name. And he's going to tell Jeremiah what to say to them. Go ahead, read on.
Therefore, thus said the Lord concerning the prophets that prophesied in my name, and I sent them not. Yet they say, sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed.
By sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed. Go ahead.
And the people to whom they prophesy shall be cast out in the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and the sword, and they shall have none to bury them. Then their wives, nor their wives, nor their sons, nor their daughters, for I will pour their wickedness upon them.
Read on.
Therefore, thou shalt say this word unto them: let my eyes run down with tears night and day, and let them not cease. For the virgin daughters of my people is broken with a great breach, with a very grievous blow.
All right, so you can stop right there. All right, so let me see. Just continue, read. Just finish it. Go ahead and finish it. We can see it in context that this is not talking nothing about the gates being burnt down to the ground. Right.
Right.
Go ahead.
If I go forth into the field, then behold the slain with the sword. And if I enter into the city, then behold them that are sick with famine. Yeah, both the prophets and the priests go about into a land that they know not. Hast thou utterly rejected Judah? Has thy soul loaded Zion? Why hast thou smitten us, and there is no healing for us? We looked for peace, and there is no good. For the time of healing, and behold trouble. We acknowledge, O Lord, our wickedness, and in the iniquity of our fathers, for we have sinned against thee. Do not abhor us for thy name's sake. Do not disgrace the throne of thy glory. Remember, break not thy covenant with us. Are there any among the vanities of the Gentiles that can cause rain, or can the heavens give showers? Are not thou he, O Lord our God? Therefore we will wait upon thee, for thou hast made all these things.
So when you read this, going back to verse 2, Judah mourneth. and the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. So this is talking about their skin tone. This is, you know what I mean, from the famine. If you're out there in drought, you could see the pictures of African children starving. You've seen those images. You can see them, right?
Yes.
Click on images. You see these little kids when there's a famine. The skin tone. This is what our people looks like during famine. This is going on, in Africa, but this is how our people lived during the famine. So this is what the gates thereof languishing is talking about. Our weak leaders at the time who were lying to the people, telling them, that there's peace. Don't worry. There's not going to be no famine. There's nothing's going to happen to you. You're good. And the Lord is saying, you know what I'm going to do to these, these prophets, and I didn't send them. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. That's the gist of what's going on in Jeremiah 14. So for them, we can't be using Jeremiah 14:2 to say that, the Jews is black, because that's not what it's talking about. It's talking about the gates being burnt down to the ground, and the gates were black. I've heard people say that. All right. I watched their videos and scratched my head going, no, I'm sorry. Let's go to Song of Solomon 1:5. Let's see what else, because there are several scriptures that proves to us and show us that they're talking about they are black.
Right. Songs of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. I am black, but calmly, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon.
All right. So he says, I am black. This is written by Solomon. I know there are people out there trying to claim that it was written by a woman. No, it was not. It was written by Solomon. All right. And he says, I am black, but calmly. Let's look up the word calmly. What does that word mean? That's why you got to look up the meaning of words. Can you still see the screen? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Calmly. Pleasant to look at. Attractive. Typically used of a woman. Agreeable, suitable. So that's where there's that saying we hear black men say something, I'm black and handsome. Or a woman may, see a tall, dark, handsome brother and be like, man, he's black and handsome. He's tall, dark, and handsome. He's tall, black, and handsome. So that's what Solomon was saying. I am black, but calmly. He said, I'm black and I look good. I'm black and handsome. So can't get away from that the scriptures themselves tells us. Some of our forefathers in the scriptures tells us that they're black. Flat out. No denying. You can't deny it. You can't twist it.
Right.
Let's go to Job 30 and 30.
The book of Job, chapter 30 and verse 30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat.
This, read on to verse 3.
You cut out a little bit. Say it again.
I was saying, read on to verse 3. As I was saying, what is the context of this? Why is he saying my skin is black upon me and my bones are burned with heat? Again, because of famine and because of drought, because of the heat. Read, you will know. Just read on to verse 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go up and read verses 1 through 3.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter.
I'm sorry, I was saying it wrong.
Chapter 30 and verse 1. But now they that are younger than I have no, hold on, not have. But now they that are younger than I have me in the derision, whose fathers I would have the disdain to have set with the dogs of my flock. Yeah, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished? For what a famine they were, solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste.
So it actually says want and famine, they were solitary. So that's what was going on again in Job 30 and 30. There was a famine going on, just like we read about in Jeremiah. All right. Yeah, we'll leave it at those ones right now. All right. But again, what is this showing us? That the images that they gave us were lies, showing the Father to be white, showing Christ to be white, showing the 12 patriarchs, the 12 tribes of Israel being white. You know what I mean? Adam and Eve being white, Noah being white, Abraham being white. Who else did we show? Moses being white, King David being white, Solomon being white. Did I miss anybody that we showed?
I don't think so.
All right. Oh, Apostle Paul. We went to Apostle Paul.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody in the book, they've shown us to be as so-called white people. But we're showing you out of the scriptures that what the scriptures describe and what they've shown us in images don't agree. They're contrary to one another. So how did they get away with it? Well, during slave times, of course, they didn't allow us to read. They didn't allow us to write. Okay. And they only allowed us to learn the scriptures that they wanted us to know out of the Bible. You know what I mean? They tricked us. They lied to us. Okay. So how do we combat this? Because today people think that the Israelis, that's what I'll type in, Israelis, and let's see what pops up. Israelis. Images. So when you type in Israelis, you got the black top hat, squirrely haired guys over here. You got the, military men. How black Israelis mobilized for their country after October 7th. All right, so you have some of our people that are over there not realizing that they're the real Israelites and, and joining forces with them. But you can see, you type in Israelis and this is what pops up. This is who people think are God's people in today's times, these people, which they are not.
Right.
The scriptures tells us how to identify God's people in the last days. He tells us specifically in the scriptures what's going to be going on with them. These are not the people. Look at her waving the flag, just as happy as can be.
It's not showing it. The
Oh,
it's only showing it's showing the flag only. There you go.
all right. So you can see she's as happy as can be, waving the flag. See, this is who the world is being told to stand with. We've got to stand with Israel. We've got to protect Israel. Israel has a right to exist. And it's like, wait a minute. Where is that rhetoric when it comes to the real Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? You have a right to exist. Why are they telling you you got to leave the country? Why are they rounding up your people, throwing you out the country? If Israel has a right to exist, let's tell the truth.
Right.
The real Israelites have a right to exist, and you're trying to make sure that they don't exist. Look at these pictures. These people are in our land pretending to be us. Well, they're not pretending because they don't know. They really think they're the people because they've been lied to also. So you really can't get mad at the average, so-called Jew over there who's just going along what they've been taught their whole lives. They've been told they're the people, so they just believe they're the people. Ethiopian Israeli soldiers threatened to refuse reserve duty. So you have some of our people that are over there. They're calling them Ethiopian Israelis. But these people, they have the land. They've got military power. You see the images that we just went through showing the military. They've got a political system. So they've got money and power and prestige the world over. World sympathy. But is that what the Bible says the Israelites in the last days will be going through? Let's go back to the scriptures. Get this flag off of here. All right. Let's see what the Lord told the Israelites. Let's go to Deuteronomy 11 and read verses 26 through 28. You got to understand, everything is about the curses. It's all about the curses. Who fits the curses in the book? Them or us?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11 and verse 26. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day. And a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which ye have not known.
So he gave our people a choice. All right. He said that he set before us that day a blessing and a curse. So he said that if we did what he asked us to do, we would get blessed. If we didn't do what he asked us to do, we would get curses. Those were the two choices we had. We could do what he said, or we could not do what he said. Of course, we are in captivity today, so the choice we made is obvious. We chose wrong. All right. So who is he talking to? All right. So the so-called Jews today are blessed. Aren't you know what I mean? It's like they're rich the world over. They're receiving billions of dollars of aid, and that's just from America. Who knows how much they're getting from other nations? Because that's never spoken of.
Right. It's
never talked about how much other nations are contributing to them. You only hear about what America gives. So if America's giving billions, how much are the other nations that are backing them give behind the scenes that we don't know about? Military might, again, they've got a whole military over there with all kinds of weapons furnished to them by America and some of these other nations. They were given the land by America and Europe in 1948. The Lord said that he would put us back into the land. But somehow that's not, that's not what happened. America and Europe put those guys over there. And that's, again, people don't read the scriptures. There's nowhere in the scriptures that it says America and Europe are going to put the Israelites back into their land. He said he would do it. He told us, wait ye upon me. He didn't say wait upon that beast of Revelation. He didn't say wait upon Babylon the Great to put you back into your land. That's not what the prophecy said. All right. So again, when we just read Deuteronomy 11:26 through 28, and the Most High said that he gave us a choice, a blessing and a curse. Who is he talking to? Let's go to Deuteronomy 1:1.
Deuteronomy 1:1, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side of Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Param and Tophel, and Laban, and Hazerah, and the Zahat.
All right. So these be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel. So Deuteronomy 11:26 through 28, when he said, behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse, he's talking to all Israel. The whole book of Deuteronomy, he's talking to all Israel. The entire Bible, he's talking to all Israel. All right. And he's got some messages in there for some of the other nations. Don't get me wrong, especially Esau. Go read Obadiah. He's got a very powerful message for Esau there. All right. But this entire book, though, is written for and given to the Israelites. So let's go to Deuteronomy. He said that he gave us a blessing and a curse. So in order for us to recognize who the Israelites are today, we've got to go to the curses. So we're going to read Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 through 68. We're going to read the whole thing right through. All right. But I'm going to stop you here and there just to make some comments. But we're going to read all the curses of Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. And as we go through, let's see if these curses fit us or if these curses fit those people that ended up in that land in 1948. Go ahead and read.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So the first thing that they should be able to see clearly is that it said that if they didn't observe to do the commandments and keep the statutes, that the curses would come upon the Israelites. You've got over there right now with these Israelis being in the land, you've got gay march parades going on in that land. You know, they're observing like LGBTQ days or whatever LGBTQ, ABC, XYZ, whatever letters they've added on now. But you've got these marches going on. You've got festivals going on in honor of it. They're not keeping no commandments over there. They may be observing high holy days and things like that, but Esau over there is not keeping the commandments. But somehow they're prospering. Somehow they're holding on to the land. They're not getting kicked out of the land. How is that? When the Lord said that if they broke the commandments, the Israelites would get kicked out of the land, right? They would be displaced. They would get spread throughout the four corners of the earth. They would be at the bottom. All right, let's read about it. Let's go ahead. Go ahead and read on. 16.
Verse 16. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. So show me what cities throughout the world where the Israelis are cursed. Living in famine, living on Section 8, getting the worst educations, going to the worst schools. Show me what city that's happening. Show me in what countryside that they're cursed, where they were made to pick cotton, put into the sugarcane fields, made to work in the tobacco fields. Show me where that happened to them. You can't. Let's go ahead and read on.
Verse 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Tell me and show me any so-called Jews market, store, business that they own that is cursed, that's not making any money. They're struggling to make ends meet. Show me where that's happening. Because I can surely guarantee you, especially over in San Francisco, they have restaurants and all kinds of food places over there, and they're prospering. They're making all kinds of money. Little markets and stores and things like that here in New York, all over the world. Their businesses are prospering. Who owns the majority of the banks? They do. Who owns the entertainment industry? They. And that goes for music, television, and the internet. If you're going to look at the tech industry and look at the majority of the people prospering in the tech industry, it's their people. All right. Mark Zuckerberg comes to mind. Jeff Bezos comes to mind. And many other of their people that are, leading the tech industry. Let's read on.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep.
They're over there in the land. They don't seem to be cursed. They're multiplying. They've spread themselves all over the world. You see, that's the difference. They spread themselves all over the world, not God. They decided to, let's pack up and move to Brazil. Let's go to America. Let's go to whatever country they wanted to go to. They packed up their family, packed up their belongings, got on a boat, got on a plane, and took themselves there. Not what the Lord, that's not how the Lord said he was going to spread the people, throughout the four corners of the earth.
Right.
They're having kids. The land, they're over there in it. They're growing food. They've got flocks and flocks and flocks over there. So they don't seem to be cursed. Let's go ahead and read on.
Verse 19. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out.
Coming in and going out is talking about going to war. Are these people over there right now cursed when they go to war? Have they been losing any battle? Because there's not any battle that I could think of that they've been losing. They've been the aggressor since they went into the land. They went in there and they right away started displacing the Palestinians, stealing the land, taking their homes, taking their what do you call it? Their farms and fields and everything. Basically, and they're still doing it today. They're doing the same thing today. Let me see if I can put a video on that. Where these Israelis. How do you spell Palestinian? Thinking Palestinian homes. We see videos. Here we go. Let me talk. Because it's not sharing. I thought it was still sharing. I don't know why. Somehow, I don't know if I'm clicking on it. Videos. All right.
Rajab family is slowly but surely being forced from the cluster of apartment buildings which are their ancestral family home. Israeli settlers arrived on July 25th, broke into 3 of the apartments and moved in. Within hours, the army turned the site into a closed military zone, in effect providing protection to the settlers and restricting the Abu Rajab's access to their own home.
Can you imagine that? These people just come break into your home, kick you out, take over the home, and there's nothing you can do. And they send the soldiers over there to protect them and help them do it.
The family say they've also been harassed by the settlers, including verbal abuse, rocks, and sewage thrown at them.
So these are the so-called people of God.
Hatem Abu Rajab has lost hope anyone will help his family.
We only have faith in God. We have no hope in the authorities and the occupation authorities. Only in God. We've tried this before. Negotiations for 20 years. What are the fruits of the negotiations? Where are the results on the ground?
Israeli settlers first took over the apartments 6 years ago, which they say they bought legally from Palestinians. The Abu Rajab family...
They bought it legally. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Settlers bought from didn't have the right to sell the property. The Israeli High Court ordered the settlers to leave. Who owns the houses remains a legal dispute. The settlers live here illegally, but they do have some high-profile political support. The settlers have proudly displayed a quote from 2013 from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It says that this house must be populated. Supporters from...
So Netanyahu is stepping in and saying, no, it must be allowed. You know what I mean? They must be allowed to move in.
Other areas arrived bearing gifts. We asked this man if the settlers will leave. He says, never. We've lived here for 2,000 years. A representative of the settler movement...
You hear that? No, we ain't got to go nowhere. We've lived here for 2,000 years. They got to go.
Shows that opinion and says they're frustrated waiting for the court to make a decision.
We've waited 5 years for a process. Now we jumped the gun a little bit. We pushed it ahead. We're tired of waiting around. And especially with certain actions that have happened in the last few weeks.
So he said, we're not even, waiting for, we just kind of pushed it ahead a little bit. We jumped the gun a little bit. But in other words, we don't care what the courts say. We're going in and we're taking it.
Showing a lack of sovereignty, of Jewish sovereignty. We, what you would call the settlers, we think we're the Jewish community of Hebron, have pushed forward and have gone back to a building that we rightfully own.
For Palestinian anti-settlement activist Mohamed Kafisha, the Israeli settlers and the government have one goal.
The Israeli military has killed a lot of Palestinians around this area in H2. and it was just for kicking Palestinians out and scaring Palestinians not to live here. And none of the Palestinian families left their houses.
Hebron.
So basically, they're going around, killing people, unaliving them to send a message. It's not working, but these are what they call the people of God.
Is a divided city, and at its heart live around 700 Jewish Israelis in settlements. They are guarded by a larger number of Israeli soldiers and police. 37,000 Palestinians live in the same area, but their movement is severely restricted by dozens of military checkpoints. The city has a tense atmosphere, and the occupation of the Abu Rajab home is only adding to that. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera, Hebron, occupied West Bank.
So when they're coming in and going out, they don't seem to be cursed. They got a military that's out there fighting. You know what I mean? Israeli military. Videos. So you can see they've got a military. They're at war. A U.S. announces $3 billion arms sale to Israel. And this is just 18 hours ago.
Now, the United States has announced the approval for the sale of more than $3 billion in munitions, bulldozers, related equipment to Israel, which used American-made weapons to devastating effect in the densely populated Gaza. The U.S. Defense Security Cooperation Agency said Secretary of State Marco Rubio signed off on the sale of $2.04 billion in bomb bodies and warheads, another $675.7 million in other bomb bodies and guidance kits, and $295 million in bulldozers.
This is that military industrial complex that the people were warned against years ago that they don't pay attention to. That these people are showing you who they are. They are the wicked the Bible speaks of. They don't care who they kill. They don't care who they trample on. They just want to get theirs and make money. They don't care. They are wicked and evil. And people are too caught up on nonsense to even care. You know what I mean? People have got their faces stuck in their iPhones and their iPads. They're on TikTok. They're on all these different dating apps and all this stupid stuff and not paying attention to what's going on in the world.
And related equipment. The DSCA said the United States is committed to the security of Israel, and it is vital to the U.S. national interest to assist Israel to develop and maintain a strong and ready self-defense capability. The latest weapons transactions come after Washington approved the sales of more than $7.4 billion in bombs, missiles, and related equipment to Israel earlier this month.
So that was earlier. So in reality, in just this past month, they've given over $10 billion in weapons to Israel.
While Egyptian
actually
sources said that Israel has sought to extend first phase of Gaza truce by 6 weeks, an Israeli delegation in Cairo to negotiate the extension. Hamas has reportedly opposed the extension and insists on proceeding to the second phase of the deal as originally agreed. Friday evening, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held consultations with senior ministers and defense officials on the state of the hostage ceasefire deal in Gaza. The second phase is meant to include steps leading to a permanent end to the war. The first phase of the ceasefire is set to end today. And the warring parties...
You see, why do they need the bulldozers? Because this is what this man does. They go in there, they bomb the place up, tear it to shreds, and then they send in these, what do you call them, to clean up and rebuild.
Contractors.
Contractors, there you go. These contractors like Halliburton and all these people that are connected to the Cheneys and the Bushes and all of this. It's all the same people. Same companies doing the same thing that they did during 9/11 when they went in there and bombed up Afghanistan and bombed up, Iraq. This is what they do over and over and over again. All for what? For money.
Are yet to clarify what will happen if no agreement is reached. Egypt and Qatar are mediating the talks with the US support. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that the Israel-Hamas ceasefire and hostage release deal must hold. His comments came after Hamas called for international pressure on Israel to enter the next phase of the ceasefire. Furthermore, Israeli military said an airstrike targeted 2 suspects.
Look at all that destruction. Look at it. What they really want to do, they want to get all those Arabs out of there, go in and rebuild the city and modernize it is what they want to do.
Approaching troops in southern Gaza as the hospital
They
received the body of one person
bomb
killed.
it up.
The army said 2 suspects who were identified in proximity to troops and posed a threat to them were struck by an aircraft in southern Gaza in order to remove the threat. For latest news,
They want to bring in McDonald's. They want to bring in Burger King. They want to bring in malls. They want to bring, American companies, American businesses. They want to Americanize. So all of that old stuff has got to go. The only problem is people over here are not paying attention. All right, let's go ahead and read on.
Verse
20.
20. The Lord shall send upon thee cursings, vexations, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
So when we're looking at these images, is it Israel having all this bombing and destruction happening to them, or are they the ones causing it? Let's go ahead and read on.
The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from the land whither thou goest to possess it.
I don't see any pestilence cleaving onto them. I don't see them suffering from no diseases and all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Don't see that happening to them. Go ahead.
And thy heaven that it is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed.
So you don't see, no big heavy sandstorms happening over there. You don't see it. Read on.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
That has not happened to them. Talking about thine enemies, thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. We have not seen them removed into all the kingdoms of the earth against their will. They willingly have moved to all these different countries. Go ahead.
Verse 26. And thy carcasses shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
So tell me when it happened, when they were marched into captivity and the weaker of them were left out in the jungles and just left to die at the hands of the animals, and put on cargo ships and, sailed around the world, and the old, the maimed, the sick, was thrown overboard for the sharks and the sea animals to eat. When did that happen to them? Go ahead and read on.
The Lord will smite thee with a botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scabs, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed.
So when it's talking about emeralds, it's talking about hemorrhoids. So when did all this happen to their people? Read on.
The Lord shall smite thee with a madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled over more, and no man shall save thee.
So again, when have they not prospered? They've been prospering for a long time.
Right.
Long time. Go ahead.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
When did that happen to them? When were they in a position that a man can come up to one of their wives and, and be like, you know what? I'm taking her. She's mine now. And they didn't have any power to do anything about it. When did that happen? When did they build a house and not be able to dwell in? We just watched that when they wanted a home, they went in, kicked the people out and took it. Go ahead and read on.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
So when did that happen to them? When were their donkeys or any of their animals taken from them and not given back and restored to them? Because we're still waiting for our 40 acres and a mule over here. They got theirs. Read on.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the days long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
So when did it happen to them that their sons and their daughters were snatched up and taken away from them and sold and given to another people in captivity? When did that happen to? When did they not have the power to get their people back or get their children back? Go ahead.
Verse 33, the fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
Read on.
So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head.
When has this happened to them? Any of this stuff like that happened to our people when we were taken into slavery, put on the cargo ships, put down in the bottom of the ships, all kinds of diseases and all kinds of things, going on with our people. Go ahead.
The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
Didn't happen to them. Go ahead.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
So who are they an astonishment to? Who are they become a proverb and a byword, except for the ones that they conveniently made up, the ones that they conveniently put out into the media that they own to spread propaganda, such as being an anti-Semite. So that they've created this byword to try and set themselves out to be the people of the book. Anti-Semitism. Go ahead and read on.
Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them.
That's still going on with our people today. We have a lot of our northern brothers and sisters out there still working on, a lot of these farms, plucking the strawberries, working in the grape fields and things like that they don't own, which actually belong to them. That's happening to our people today. This land was stolen from them, and they have to go and work in these fields on land that they actually owned, that did not belong to the people that now reside on that land, and hiring them to do the work on.
Right.
Let's read on.
Thou shalt carry my verse 39. Thou shalt plant vineyards. No, verse 40. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt begot sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
When did it ever happen to these people over there that their sons and daughters went into captivity? When? The Bible's telling you clearly what was going to be going on with the real Israelites in the last days. It's saying that their sons and daughters would go into captivity and they wouldn't be able to enjoy them. Do they fit that curse, or do we fit the curse? Read it. Read on.
All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall be locusts consumed. The strangers that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
So when did that happen? We're the strangers at the bottom, according to them. So that would mean that we should be at the top above them, and they should be the ones at the bottom. But it's the other way around, which clearly should be an indication to anybody with half a brain that reads the scriptures that the people that are over there in the land are not the true people. Go ahead and read on.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
How many of these banks do these so-called Jews own? They're the ones out here in control and in charge of lending, not the other way around. They are the heads. Are they not, along with America, basically leading this world? Again, they own the entertainment industry. They tell you what you could watch on TV. They tell you what music you could listen to on the radio. They own several of the sports teams. Many of, your tech companies, they tell you basically what you can and cannot watch on the internet. Read on.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So these curses, he said, were going to come upon the Israelites, was going to pursue the Israelites and overtake them until they became destroyed. And he said the reason why is because we did not listen. We didn't keep the commandments. And he said that these curses were going to be upon the Israelites for a sign and for a wonder, and was going to be upon their seed for how long? Forever. Forever. So now, in order to know who God's chosen people are in these last days, you've got to read these curses, and you've got to look at the nations of people that are upon the earth, and you've got to figure out which of these people fit the curses and who don't fit the curses.
Right.
Because they said the curses are going to be upon them forever. And why? Go ahead and read on.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things.
So we don't want to serve the Lord. We don't want to do it. We never appreciated everything that the Lord did for our people. Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies with which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So when did this happen to the Israelis over there? When did they have to serve their enemies in hunger, for food, for water, for clothing, and in one of all, they'll bring up the Holocaust, right?
Hmm.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. When did they have yokes of iron upon their necks? When? Go ahead and read on.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
When did that happen to them? Go ahead.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
So from what we just saw in a couple of these videos we just watched, they fit the latter more than the former of what we just read. They're not the nation that had a nation come from far against them. They were the nation that came from far. They were that nation, and they are that nation of fierce countenance that doesn't regard the person of old. They don't show favor to the young. They don't care. They're going to come in. They're going to take the land. They're going to take whatever they want, and they're kicking those people out of the, out of the apartment buildings, kicking them out of homes. That's what they fit as far as a description. They don't fit the curses. They fit that they are the nation of fierce countenance. They've got nothing to fear. They've got nothing to worry about. They are the aggressors. Go ahead and read on.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flock of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fence walls come down, wherein thou trustest. Thou throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God had given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thy own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God had given thee in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother and towards his wife in his bosom and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
So these curses, we're reading them. If you read them and pay attention to, you could see that they don't fit any of these curses. When is, one Israeli having an evil eye towards another Israeli, they are all committed as one, that they are the people of the book. They have a right to exist, and that land is theirs, and they're gonna take it anyway by any means possible. They are confederate. They are consenting together in this. When have they had evil towards each other and towards their wives and towards their children? When have they left their children? When do you ever hear about a Israeli father, having 10 kids with, 10 different baby mamas? It's rare. Not that it never happens, but it's rare. You never hear about it, except with Elon Musk. I don't even know what Elon is. I don't have to go look and see what he is. But he's out there having a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women. But the curse says that the real Israelite man is going to hate his brother, he's going to hate his wife, to the point to where he's going to leave his children. He's not going to take care of them. We see that rampant throughout the Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities. We're killing, shooting each other out in the streets. When are you seeing that with the Israelis? That they're out there gunning each other down in the streets, robbing and stealing from each other, lying to each other, stealing each other's wives. Where do you see that happening? Selling drugs to each other. Where is that happening? Go ahead.
Is this true? Elon Musk, American, Canadian, and South Africa.
Okay. Yeah, I did hear he was South African.
Yeah, Mr. Musk, who was born in South Africa, holds both Canadians and U.S. citizenship.
All right. So what is it again? Read it from the top.
The verse?
Yeah, that he's...
Oh, Mr. Musk, who was born in South Africa, holds both Canadian and U.S. citizenship.
All right. Does it say anything in there about him being Israeli or Jewish or what his parents were or anything?
It says born to a prominent family in Pretoria, South Africa.
Let me see.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here it says the Musk family is a prominent family with roots in South Africa, Canada, England, and the United States. Let me see. Why his family tree sparks controversy. American Canadian. There's some interesting read. I'm gonna have to go back and read this because it's actually saying his grandparents were American citizens that moved to Canada. Right. So Walter and Cora Musk had British and South African roots. Yeah, I'll go back and read that later. But again, you can see that these curses don't fit them. Where are we at? Verse
We finished 54.
All right, let's go to 55.
So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he had nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates.
And we know that that happened in 70 AD, where the siege happened, and many of our people, the Roman armies had compassed the city. They were roundabout. They were all around the city, starving our people out to the point to where they started eating their own kids and things like that. That's what this man did. And the man I'm talking about, Esau, Edom, this nation of people. That's what they did to our people. Let's read on.
The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground, for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughters.
And you see that more and more today in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities, where a lot of these women, they're, you know, we were just talking about this earlier, they're married, have husbands, they got kids and things like that, and just up out the blue decide that they want to divorce their husband. They don't care how it affects their kids, and then they want to leave and go out looking for some other men. And next thing you know, you got these women that are in their late 30s, their 40s and 50s that are doing this. Just up and leaving, getting a divorce. And that's what, is being promoted in society today. That's selfishness, because, they got to think about their own happiness. Go ahead and read on.
And and towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and towards her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for one of all things, secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plague wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed even great plagues, and of long continuance, and more sickness and long continuance.
And sore sicknesses and of long continuance, meaning that these plagues are going to be upon you for, basically the rest of your life, like HIV. You get HIV, that's sticking with you. There's some of these sicknesses, some of these diseases that you can get and they don't leave. They're not going nowhere. What is it? The one that's rampant upon our young girls until they're women, is it HPV or something like that? The human papilloma something. There are a lot of these diseases, a lot of these STDs, STIs, and things like that that our people are getting, and there's no so-called cures for them. Cancers and things like that. Long continuance where they just linger around for years and years and years of your life, and there's nothing you can do about it, especially with HIV. Go ahead and read on.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
So, do you hear about this going on in the Israeli communities? You know what I mean? All these STDs and STIs and, like HIV, chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis. What are some other ones? Do you hear about these running rampant in the Israeli communities? Not at all. But in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities, it's all over. Let's go ahead and read on.
And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of the heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoice over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
All right. So again, when is this going on with them? When did the Lord scatter them among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other? Remember, the Lord said he would scatter the Israelites, not that they would, have their choice of countries they want to go to and be able to get on trains and planes and, and boats and basically travel to whatever land they want to go to. Because essentially that's basically what happened in 1948. They were trying to get these people to go to Israel, and a lot of them didn't want to go. And so they're like, well, if you don't want to go to Israel, they've made it real easy for them to, locate basically wherever they wanted to locate in the world with no issues. Why are they not rounding up these people here in the United States and shipping them back to wherever they come from? Why are they not rounding them up and shipping them back to Israel?
Right.
Why is it not happening? And among these nations shalt thou find no ease. Look at our brothers and sisters right now of Northern Kingdom descent. Petrified right now here in America that they're going to get found. They're going to have what do you call it? Border Patrol and what's the other one? ICE knocking at their door and taking them into custody and basically shipping them out of the country. The Israelis don't have that to worry about. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Our people is running. running, hiding. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. Go ahead and read on.
In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way thereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
All right, so I got to do this because we need to see this, because we know this never happened to them. Hit it on accident again, didn't I? Your screen. All right. So the transatlantic slave trade. You can see this happen to us. Where the when did this happen to them? I'm serious. Like, when did that happen? When were they put on cargo slave ships? When did this happen to them? And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, back into bondage. When did this happen to them? When were they packed onto slave ships like this, like sardines? When did that happen to their people? The Native American slave trade, because a lot of our brothers and sisters in Northern Kingdom don't understand that they were brought into slavery before we were. This is the conquistadors attacking who? Northern Kingdom, but they're trying to make in the images Northern Kingdom look like Edomites. That iconoclasm again, where they're changing the images to try and make them look like them. Native American enslavement and colonial American, World History Encyclopedia. Yes, the Northern Kingdom was taken into slavery just like Judah was, just like Southern Kingdom. But the images here, they're trying to make them look like they're Edomites, and they weren't. And they're not. Look at this. They're taking one of our Northern Kingdom brothers into captivity.
Right.
All right. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, meaning you're never going to see the homeland again. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. Here's the auction block. This is the slave blocks. They got a family up there. We've got one Negro for sale. We got a family of Negroes for sale. We got the father, we got the mother, we got the baby. Bidding will start as such and such. Can you see those images?
You stop sharing.
Oh, wow. See, I'm sitting here talking about it and you guys can't even see it. This is what I was looking at. Now you see it?
Yep.
All right. So the slave auction blocks. This is what I was looking at when I was saying, you know, they got a family for sale. They got the father, the mother, the child. Had our people in the auction blocks. Here's another one. One of our women got one of our men. Here's the clips, the ad for sale, long cotton and rice Negroes. 50 Negroes. I will give the highest cash price for 50 Negroes from 10 to, let's say, 25 years of age. They didn't care about the young. They didn't care about the old, just as the curses said. They didn't care if you was 10 years old, you going out in that field just like as if you was 25. No difference. Commissioner sale of Negroes. All right. They don't fit the curses. Stop listening to the lies. Don't fall for, fall for the propaganda. They are not the people of the book. You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you fit the curses. Go read the curses of Leviticus 26 and 14 through 46. Go read Genesis 49 and 1 through 28, where Jacob called his sons together, the 12 patriarchs, and told them the things that would be happening to them in the last days. Go and read it. It's too much to read. We'd be here all night if we, read all of this. But go and read it for yourself. And you will see that they've been lying to us. You have to go and study. You've got to read. Let's go to Isaiah 34 and 16.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord, and read. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth it had commanded, and in his spirit it had gathered them.
All right, so seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. Mm-hmm. You've got to go and read this history so that you don't fall for the lies that they've told us. There are so many other lies. We're going to cover them. All right. Not over the next couple of weeks or few weeks or so, because we got Passover coming up. So we'll be doing lessons on Passover and things like that. But we'll get back into these lies after that. All these different lies that they've told us. Our enemies shall be found liars unto thee, or unto us. And we're finding it. We're bringing the truth out. Not just us, but a lot of other Israelites that are teaching online. There are a lot of different camps, a lot of different groups, Israelite church groups that are teaching online, teaching on the streets. Go out and find out the truth. Stop just sitting back and accepting the lies that our enemies have been feeding us. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 9 through 14.
4. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, and verse 9. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he had no other to help him up. Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? And if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him. And a threefold cord is
Wait,
not.
where are you reading at?
Ecclesiastes 4 and
12 and 9 through 14. Yeah, 12 and 9 through 14. So I was like, wait a minute, I don't sound right.
I was like, okay, 12. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 9. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yeah, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words, and that which was written was upright, even words of truth. The words of the wise are as goads.
Yeah, goads. We'll look that word up so people know what that word means. Go ahead and read on though.
And as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. And further, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end, and much study is weariness of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
So goads means to provoke or annoy someone so as to stimulate some action or reaction. So going back to Ecclesiastes 12 and 11 says the words of the wise are as goads. So the words of a wise man serve as a purpose to stimulate you into some action or reaction, to stimulate you to repent from your sins, to change and come back to the Most High and keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. That's what the words of the wise are meant to do. That's why it says the words of the wise are as goads and as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies, which are given from one shepherd. The words of this book are written to stimulate you to some action, and that action is repentance, to bring you back to keeping the commandments, because that's what matters in the end. That's why verse 13 says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And a lot of our people need to understand that we're all going to have our day in front of Christ when he comes back. And every idle word that you've spoken, whether it was truth or lies, you're going to have to give account of. Lord's will, you haven't raised any false reports in Israel, because the Lord hates people raise up false reports in Israel. Making claims about somebody that aren't true, you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to face Christ at that point and explain to him why you lied about this person, or why you let yourself get caught up in false matters, why you allowed yourself to get caught up in sin. Every work is going to be brought into judgment. Everything you've done, right or wrong, is going to get presented to you. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing. So you can't hide any secrets from God. You can't. There is no secret. So you're going to have to give an account for it. Whether it be good or whether it be evil. And with that, we're going to say shalom. Most High in Christ bless. Lord's will, you got something out of this lesson from last Sabbath and this Sabbath. Thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee. If you watching this part and you didn't watch part 1, go back and watch part 1, because this will make a whole lot more sense to you. All right. With that, we're going to say shalom. Most High in Christ blessed. We'll see you next Sabbath. And as we mentioned, the new year is coming up this week. As we stated at the beginning of the lesson, if you missed that, just go back to the beginning of the lesson and rewatch the first like 20 minutes or 25 minutes of the lesson, where we went over a little bit of the calendar and the new year coming up this week. And in a couple of weeks or so after that, the Passover. All right. With that, again, we're going to say shalom. Most High in Christ bless. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath, and we'll see you next Sabbath, Lord's will.